Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up this afternoon, Ghana cedi expected to record gains against the dollar and other major foreign currencies this week as the progress of IMF deal favorably impacts on the market.
If the reality happens, there is no doubt that the rate will be coming down. The cedi will be more powerful, gain than as we are seeing now, and therefore the rates will come down.
Also coming up, customers of collapsed Gold Coast Fund Management Company threaten to picket the Securities and Exchange Commission again to demand their locked-up funds. Plus, cost of living could go down following a 10% reduction in transport fares from this Wednesday. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Thanks for staying with us. First up, the Ghana cedi is expected to record gains against the dollar and other major foreign currencies this week as the progress of the International Monetary Fund deal favorably impacts the market. That's a session by most analysts. There's more in this report.
The cedi strengthened by 5.3% yesterday, the most since April 3 according to Bloomberg. It's actually gained 5.0 pesos to the American greenback on the retail market to sell at 11 cedis, 90 pesos. The local currency traded sideways in the early part of last week, but managed to gain some stability following an announcement regarding debt relief by Ghana's external creditors, which is crucial for the country to receive approval from the board of the International Monetary Fund. The cedi also benefited from the Bank of Ghana's foreign exchange support, resulting in a 0.21% week-on-week appreciation against the dollar. It also climbed 0.77% against the euro, but remained unchanged against the pound. If the trend continues, the local currency will reverse the losses experienced at the beginning of this year.
Now, the Forex Bureau Association of Ghana is predicting fair stability of the local currency in the coming days following the finance and assurance secured from Ghana's external creditors under the G20 Common Framework to help restructure Ghana's debt. According to the association, the currency market is already witnessing some significant stability. Currently, the cedi is selling at 11 cedis 90 pesos to the dollar at various forex bureaus. Vice President of the association, Dr. Alex Akpabli, is hopeful a successful IMF deal will show up the value of the cedi.
The Ghanaian economy has been mostly driven by speculation, which for me is very sad. Because speculation can be positive or negative. You understand? Yeah. But if the reality happens, there is no doubt that the rate will be coming down. The cedi will be more powerful, gain than as we are seeing now, and therefore the rates will come down. But for us, we are only praying. We wish ourselves well that the Ghana economy will be sound. It will be robust, and therefore, if it happens, as we are praying that we happen to secure this 3 billion loan from the IMF, I think to cushion us, it will help businesses. As we speak now, most businesses are struggling, and therefore, if it is a case that this money comes in and it will open more, it will boost more confidence in our economy, I think it will be a good news for all of us. And so, yes, business, we as the bureaus, we are only praying that the good thing happens. So there isn't much strategy. But for those in the other businesses, the trading businesses, I will just pray that yes. But you see, the truth must be told. It is not a case that when the cedi gain, more, or become more powerful, then it will create an enabling environment for business to strive. I don't buy into that perception.
Government says it has made some significant progress towards securing $900 million from the World Bank to support projects outlined in the 2023 budget. This will be in addition to the $3 billion that Ghana will get under the IMF program. The country is expected to receive further financial support from other donors once Ghana gets approval for the IMF program. We expect the board approval to happen tomorrow. And joining us on Zoom is former Finance Minister Tekpe, who has experience in these kinds of engagements. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Tekpe. All things being equal, we should secure board approval for a program tomorrow from the IMF. Your thoughts on how this has unfolded and how upbeat are you about the impact of this program on our economy?
Well, thank you very much. No doubt the impact, will be positive to some extent because, to a large extent, because the confidence in the economy is shaking. We are unable to go, remember, into the global financial markets. We are unable to issue domestic bonds. We are virtually dependent, on T-bills for running our deficits. And we see the situation, our reserves, are low. And so I beg to differ a bit, that the whole situation we are in now, is based on speculation. And I think we have deep-seated, problems and issues. We have been defaulting, which is why we are, we are having the domestic debt exchange, and we have, the externals, giving assurance. We can come to that. I'm not sure whether we even have a structure for the externals yet. The board meeting is envisaged on a promise or on a premise that, the negotiations, will go well, unless, because I don't see anything that tells us that we have completed those negotiations. And that is because it's important, that the country does not go down a more slippery, road. So that would be what I would say by way of introduction. But there is more work, ahead of us. The second thing I'd like to ask, yes.
No, when you say that there's more work ahead of us, I just want you to highlight a bit more what you're talking about. And are you saying that it's not a done deal yet, that there could be some more things that we need to negotiate when we get to that board meeting?
Well, no, definitely the board will take a decision based on what is presented, mostly from the staff level agreement. The staff level agreement has some preconditions. We can say the main one, domestic, debt restructuring, has come to a large extent, besides the pension and other issues. I think we can say that is substantively, done. I just made a qualification that we haven't seen a statement that says that we have completed the external debt exchange. That may come tomorrow. What I know is that there is a committee chaired by France and China who are inviting, other creditors to join, the meetings. So that may be a process, which is underway, has been underway or is about to begin, which means that the negotiations, the core negotiations, is yet to go on. But if you also look at, two other factors why I say that is we know the situation we are in. We know that we have a huge fiscal deficit, which needs to be reduced. We also know that we are defaulting, and we need to move quickly to be able to start honoring, our obligations under the new arrangements that will be put in place. And we need to diversify our resources for financing, the deficit. So there's no question. Our reserves are low. And so if much of the resources coming in, particularly for the fund, will go and shore up, the reserves, whilst, the World Bank resources that you mentioned traditionally go to strengthen the budget, then we are going to see some flows, moving in, and that's the purpose of the fund program, is to begin to, stabilize and bring confidence from market players, development partners, ratings agencies, and the rest to start monitoring. But going ahead, you would also know that this is not going to be like the COVID loan where we got 1 billion ahead. It's not going to be, SDR, where we got 1 billion upfront, we already know that the first tranche that is being discussed, is in the range of 600, 900, depending on who you are listening to. So even if it's 900, if it's a billion, that's 1/3. And we all know from even what the Deputy Minister has stated, that there will be what we call the performance criteria. I take it that we have fulfilled most of the prior actions. For example, the tax measures, the expenditure measures, besides the debt exchange, which may not be completed. So subsequent releases will be based, which I think the Deputy Minister already indicated will be in the region of 300 to 350 million spread over the 3 years. And so this is a conventional a conventional IMF agreement where further releases into the economy would depend on, now moving into the performance criteria and other, what you call the conditionalities. So it is not going to get 3 billion upfront. The 3 billion is going to be spread. A good example is the ECF under the Mahama administration, which was continued into 2017. Much of that revenue went to, the current administration. And so we envisage that depending on the outcome of the elections, this program is going to be continued. This will be the second time that our programs have strapped, overlapped, election years. And so depending on who wins, that government is going to continue, even if it's a new phase. Hopefully it will be the NDC, of course, to show a little bit of bias, but and I think the record is also there. But coming back to the issue, definitely releases are going to be based on performance, and that's the essence of reviews. You remember the Deputy Minister also mentioned there will be about 6 reviews. These are constant. We had about 6, 7 reviews, under the last ECF, and this is a conventional. So to repeat, this is a conventional IMF, agreement. And what normally happens is that the development partners, the World Bank and others, would also, apart from the initial releases that they will be making, subsequent ones will also be based on the same performance. That's why the IMF is very important when it comes to, developing economies.
Great to explain this to us, because there's already reporting that we should expect the Bank of Ghana's accounts to be credited with the first tranche of payments by Monday next week. And I've heard commentary from others who say, well, Zambia didn't get their monies this fast, as well as some other countries. And so they're wondering, why is Ghana getting their monies almost immediately? But as you explained, this is novel.
Yes, remember that if you put that in context, we would get much of the full story. But if you put it in context, the May board meetings have been published. Ghana is not there yet. So I take it that this will be some expedited, meeting. Maybe the fact that we have come in late, does not necessarily suggest that we have not done well by way of things that the board needs to consider. The fact that we have come in late may also mean that we have moved on our prior actions, the taxes. We've moved on maybe 2/3 of them. We've moved substantially, maybe 85-90% on domestic, and what is left is the external. So yes, it's the prerogative of the board to then say that, we have come fast enough, given our experience, with 17 programs and the rest. And remember, there are, public servants. Politicians come and go, but there are public servants in the Ministry of Finance and other ministries, who work on both the austerity element and in the structural element, which affects, the real sector. So that is the point I'm making. So I think the justification as to why Ghana is coming in will definitely be given, by the staff, to the executive directors before the meeting. So we would all hope that, the expectation that there will be a meeting tomorrow, will materialize. And then there will be that would have meant that most of the prior actions will be considered. Whatever is left, would have to be done. Would have to be done by the time the first review takes place. That is normally every 6 months. In addition to the performance criteria or the other actions that we have to do. And when I say performance criteria, let me give a practical example. Maybe your deficit is around 12%. You need to bring it down to 6%. So over the period of the program when you are supposed to bring it down, or midway through the program, you may be required to be reducing the deficit by 1 percentage point every, half month, or, reduce it by 2%, or whatever. So that will be an example. You may promise that you can bring SOEs and things on track so that their liabilities and things, do not weigh the economy. We've made other promises on the expenditure side or revenue side. They'll be monitoring how the revenues are flowing in, because a tax increase is a tax increase, but it is tied to revenue. Ultimately, what you want to reduce is the deficit, which is leading to the debt situation. So these are what I have to say with respect to whether we come in ahead of other countries or not. Most things by the IMF is based on performance.
Right, and we await some more details about this program. There are some who have called on the government to make the details of the economic program public. I don't know if they're able to do that now, but what do you anticipate?
I think that would come definitely from the two documents. The letter of intent, which will be signed by the Minister for Finance and the Governor. So when the agreement is released, you can look out for that. The other one is a memorandum, of economic and financial performance, which assesses the economy. Then you will have appendices, to them on real sector performance, GDP performance, and various other things, and possibly the debt sustainability analysis that were done, which we have not seen yet. So, Daryl, I think that once those documents are published on the IMF website, then we'll see, what prior actions we gave, what, PCs, as we call them, that is the performance criteria, and other conditionalities. They'll be listed normally in the table and when they need to be. So we can then come back and have a discussion on that. But at the moment, I think it will be speculative, apart from what we know of the taxes and the rest. Yeah.
What should Ghanaians expect? I mean, you indicated this is good for the economy, but the next few years, what is it going to be like in terms of the conditionalities placed on us?
I would hope for real reforms, because yes, for example, let me give you an example. We do blame COVID quite a bit, and there's no question that COVID affected the economy. But if you come to think that we also got $6 billion of dedicated resources for COVID, when no government has ever gotten $1 billion to correct the economy, maybe $1 billion plus when you add, the World Bank, development partners, and the rest, right? But remember, the total contribution, I don't think would be up to 2 billion, 2.5 of all those, and over a 3-year period. Remember, not, a single, year, but here we have between 2019, 2020, 2021, we had all the significant flows into the economy, and yet we couldn't turn things around. So I would hope that this is an opportunity for us to do real reforms, and already we would know, because the fund has started making adjustments, the bailout costs, the paper treatment, and all those things. Contingency liabilities are being brought out of the woodworks. We already know that we have a 77 billion, of arrears, out of which 23 billion or so was paid. That's the ministry's own, report. Yes, so there will be a lot of information. So yes, the success will depend on real performance, and I think that the fund will be quite alert to make sure that, because remember, what we are receiving from the fund, which could also be impaired, is a loan. And so I think we better perform, yes.
Great to speak with you this afternoon, Mr. Tekpe. Hopefully we'll have some more conversations when the deal is finally sealed. I appreciate your time with us this afternoon. Well, in other news, customers of Collapse Gold Coast Fund Management Company say they will have no option than to seek another police permit to picket the premises of the Securities and Exchange Commission again. The warning comes after the group said they are yet to receive response from the SEC 2 weeks after picketing its office. Speaking to Joy Business, convener of the aggrieved customers of Collapse Gold Coast Fund Management Company, Charles Name, said they'll try again to reach the SEC if all efforts to get their locked up funds fail. He says the customers will resume picketing. Let's go on to Zoom, speak with him, because he's joined us. Good afternoon to you. So far, no response from SEC. Can you hear me, Charles? Appears you're muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Good. So far, there hasn't been any official communication from SEC nor the government at large. And it is unfortunate that a government of a people could be so insensitive. Looking at the pictures that is showing on your screens, people of this age have gone to stand under the scorching sun for 3 days trying to drum home their demands to the government, and no response. No government sees it as important to address our needs. It is quite unfortunate, you see. But we thank God that there has been a light of hope. Yesterday, when President Mahama was giving his acceptance speech, our issue was part of the things that he highlighted, saying that if by the grace of God he gets the opportunity to become the president coming 2025, in his first year, he will use 1 year to pay all fund management customers who have got their funds locked up as a result of the financial cleanup exercise.
So you're going to wait till 2025? I don't get it, because the former president says that he's going to make the payment. I thought it was something that you needed immediately.
It is something we needed immediately, but for 5 years, if you've had an insensitive government who is reluctant for 5 years, please, can you hear me?
Yes, you are on.
Good. For 5 years, if you've had an insensitive government who is very reluctant in addressing your issues for the past 5 years, we are talking about 5 years, getting to 6 years. Even last 2 weeks, we had this picketing. You saw the old people standing under the sun. We have made it clear and loud that about 800 of our pensioners are dead and gone as a result of these locked up funds. And if we have not had any official, any government official to come out to give us even sudden words, you just come out and say something. We don't have that. Why wouldn't we cling to a hope?
All right. So Charles, as you understand it, the delay is also because of the legal processes with regards to liquidating the assets of Gold Coast Fund Management. There are legal hurdles, which, I mean, SEC just simply doesn't have control over and can't be entirely blamed for.
That is not the case. You see, SEC is deceiving the public. And I'm sorry the media is buying into SEC deception.
You are aware? Are you aware that there are plans to liquidate the assets of Gold Coast Fund Management?
Bailout package has nothing to do with liquidation proceeds.
Because the explanation from SEC is that they want to do that, whatever proceeds they get from that, they add it to what government has given as a bailout fund and would be able then to settle all of you.
No. SEC presented a total debt portfolio under the fund management sector being 8.5 billion Ghana cedis to the government. That government give us this bailout amount, and if you're able to give us this 8.5 billion, we will be able to pay all customers of fund management customers who have had their funds got locked up under the financial cleanup exercise. And Parliament have approved 8.6 billion instead of 8.5 billion. First, they approved 3.1 billion in the mid-year 2020 budget. And subsequently, they approved 5.5 billion in the 2021 budget. So what liquidation money are they talking about? Government did that because government felt that on humanitarian grounds, people have worked hard over the years and invested their monies. Therefore, I should use taxpayers' money to pay them, to bail them out. Then after that, I can pursue the liquidation order, sell the assets of the companies, and bring it back to where I took the money from. That was the initial plan. That was the reason why the parliament approved 8.6 billion. And out this 8.6 billion has been captured in the expenditure of Ministry of Finance, totaling the overall amount of the financial cleanup exercise up to 25 billion, claiming that they have spent 25 billion to clean the financial sector. This 8.6 billion is part of the 25 billion. So what are they talking about? Where did they send the money to? Now, for them to claim that they are waiting for liquidation or other process, it means that the monies that were approved by Parliament, they have expended it or they have misappropriated.
You also recognize that it's not just Gold Coast Fund Management underwater. They have to settle some other people. But I just want to find out, so what? You're going to reach out to the SEC again, and would you want to consider maybe changing your tactics and use more of dialogue to get your monies?
Thank you. Let me make this clarification first. If they say there are other customers, says there are other customers, but for your information, confirm this from the Securities Regulation Commission. Gold Coast Fund Management customers constitute over 90% of total fund management customers who got their funds locked up. So if you are paying customers and you have not paid Gold Coast Fund Management customers, then whom are you paying? We are not going to use any dialogue because we have passed that level. We use dialogue after the 5.5 billion was approved. We petitioned the Speaker of Parliament, we petitioned the Majority Caucus in Parliament, we petitioned the Minority Caucus, the Finance Committee in Parliament. We tried to reach out to the Ministry of Finance, we didn't get the opportunity. We tried to reach out to the Vice President, we didn't get the opportunity. So all lobbying and dialogue processes, we have exhausted that. And we want to go on the street.
Okay.
Because that is the only language that we think the government understands. And we want to call on Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. If he really wants to become the next president of this nation,
all right,
we can have this
Sorry,
mess.
Charles, we need to end this conversation right now because we've run out of time, but I appreciate that you have spoken with us this afternoon. That's Charles Nyame, who is a grieved Gold Coast fund customer, also convener for the group. I appreciate your time with us. Our time is up. But before we go, the cost of living in the coming days could go down. This follows the announcement by transport operators of a 10% reduction in transport fares from this Wednesday. Now, prices of petroleum products are also expected to fall marginally at the pumps from today. Here's more.
Fuel and transport fares have been one of the major drivers of the general price levels of goods and services in the country, as well as the cost inputs for most items sold on the market. Therefore, based on these developments, it is likely that in the coming weeks, prices of some goods on the market may be reduced. This may help to drive down the cost component of most businesses in the country, a development that may result in that benefit being passed on to consumers. The Ghana cedi has also started making some strong gains against the US dollar on the market, a development that may help to reducing the cost of some items sold in the country. There are some who have argued that with Ghana now close to getting an IMF program, maybe the country is now getting onto that recovery path, which may lead to things stabilizing the economy.
And that's the marketplace, everyone. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Fuel prices fall, Guel sells a litre of petrol, diesel at 12 cedis 30 pesos. Also cedi to record gains against dollar as expected IMF deal impacts the market. We brought you those stories as well. And so myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Kwawu. We will be back same time tomorrow.